can remember one of them, then the others you'll be able to make the connection. Okay? With all of these ologies, we have other ways to talk about science. And a lot of times, you'll find that it's a very consistent pattern. This is about writing or drawing. Okay? So, what do you think is the difference between these two? First, do you recognize either of these? Do you know what they are? Okay. This root here means the earth. Okay. So if we're talking about the earth, right? Well, what would be the difference between this one and this one? If this is writing a story, it's writing about a life. And this is learning about how life works, right? This is writing the earth, drawing the earth. If you make a map, right, that's geography. On the map, you can draw the mountains and the rivers and the forests. You can draw this country and that city. You can draw the earth, that's geography, okay? But why is there a mountain? What makes the mountain come up? Underneath, there's the fire, right? There's the hot metal and rock that pushes upward until you have a mountain that comes out. In another place, the earth has gone like this, right? So what made it do that? Why is there an ocean here? Understanding that is geology. Okay? So this is about the logic behind it, understanding, 了解的, right? This is about drawing or writing. And we do this with a lot of other things. Like, for example, there's another geo one here. 它不是科学，它是数学 math. 数学, right? Okay, yeah, that's a hard word. So, this one here, well, it still has this geo in it. So what kind of math is based on the earth? Here's a mountain. All right, here's the sun. I want to measure how high the mountain is. How do I do that? Exactly, right? So here's a tree. The sun shines. I get a nice straight line. If the shadow from the tree goes to here, and the tree is this tall, then I can measure, and I can compare them. So if the shadow is this long for this high, and it's this long, that means I can figure out the height, right? And this kind of math is geometry, okay? This metry part has to do with measuring, like the word meter, okay? We use the word meter in a lot of things. Like when you park your car somewhere and you have something that counts how long your car is there, so you know how much money you have to pay. That's a meter. In your car, the thing that tells you how fast you're going is a meter, right? So whenever you see this word, it has to do with measuring how much or how long or something. Okay? in animation, you'll need a few of these because things like measuring, that's important, right? So, there's actually a lot more we can do with this, but we can still talk about other things too. So, if you can think of other questions to ask, that's okay. 不定是英文还是单词的问题。So, can you think of anything else you'd like to ask? 还有什么可以问？Okay, that's a fair question. Okay, it's kind of a long story, but it's good practice for listening. So, when I was in university, okay, I had a classmate in my Italian classes, and his Italian was really not very good. Actually, his English was not very good. I helped him with his homework, so I have a good idea how bad he was. And after we graduated, I found out that this friend of mine became an English teacher in Korea. Right? Korea, Hanguo. Right? And he got a job there as an English teacher, and I was thinking, his English sucks. Like really, I had to correct his spelling for him. He was bad at English. So he became an English teacher. But after I finished university, I went to study in Europe for a year, and then I was studying in Canada again for a year. I got tired of being in school. So I thought, maybe it's time to look for a job. But in Canada, because everything is bilingual, you have to be really just 2 languages if you want to get a job in language. If I want to be a translator or an interpreter, I need to have just English and one other, so I can do just those 2. But I wanted to learn them all. So I couldn't get a job in translation or anything like that. So I thought, well, that friend of mine, he got a job as an English teacher, so it must be pretty easy. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll try that. But my last year in Canada, I was going to see my parents for Christmas. Where I grew up was in the north of Canada, and my parents, they used to live in the south, but my dad became a teacher, so he had to move up there. And then when my dad retired, he moved back down south. So I was still in the north, and one year, my last year, I wanted to go down to see them for Christmas. And it was a long ride on the bus. It's about 6 hours to go from where I was living to where my parents were, because Canada is really big, right? But when I was on the bus, another friend of mine from university got on, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. So this friend of mine he was in a different program. He studied music. But we started talking with each other, and I told him, I thought, maybe I'll go to Korea and teach English, And he said, no, don't go to Korea. Because this was 20 years ago, okay? At that time, in Korea, there was a large problem with foreign teachers who got hired illegally. So the schools, they were not allowed to do this, but they did anyway. They brought in foreign teachers. And then the government closed the school. And when the government closed the school, they took away all the teachers' money. So the teachers had no money to go back home. So they were stuck in Korea. They couldn't get a job, but they couldn't leave. So there was this whole group of teachers who were, living there by begging for food, really. And so my friend said, don't go there. But, Japan